Dear Diary, I can't believe I'm finally writing again. It feels like forever since I last poured my thoughts onto these pages. Today, something incredible happened. Something that turned my world upside down. I don't even know where to begin. You see, Diary, I've always felt like a piece of me was missing. Growing with my loving parents, who adopted me when I was just a baby, I never lacked love or support. They adored me and I adored them. I even had a great relationship with my birth mom, Jackie, who was 16 years old at the time of my birth. But deep down, I always felt a void, an emptiness that I couldn't explain. I excelled in school, achieved excellent grades, and was a star athlete. I had everything going for me. Yet, I couldn't shake this feeling of discontentment. It was as if something was missing from my life. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. And then, Diary, something extraordinary happened. It was a few days after the local news station aired a 10-minute documentary about me and the fundraising event I organized to keep the doors of our community youth center open. I received a mysterious direct message on social media from a young woman with no profile picture. She claimed to be my sister, my twin sister. I was stunned, Diary. Of course, I've always known I was adopted. My parents were really open about it. And like I said, I even have a great relationship with my birth mom. But a twin sister, that was a revelation I never saw coming. I would usually be very skeptical about somebody contacting me through social media, but curiosity consumed me, and I couldn't resist the urge to find out more. The young woman, McKenzie, explained how she had discovered our connection through the news segment that featured me, and how she had been searching for me ever since. She also shared her story with me. She grew up in the foster system, feeling like she never truly belonged. I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions: excitement, disbelief, and a glimmer of hope. Could this be the missing piece of my life? Could McKenzie be the one who finally made me feel whole? After a shocking and breathtaking FaceTime call, we decided to meet in person. McKenzie wanted our first meeting to be in secret before we shared the news with my family. I agreed. It was a nerve-wracking experience, but the moment I laid eyes on McKenzie, face to face, an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped me, and I ran and embraced my sister, my twin sister. We shared the same eyes, the same smile, and an unspoken bond that transcended words. It was a moment of pure magic, Diary, and I couldn't help but feel like everything was falling into place. But then, things took an unexpected turn. We spent hours at a pizza place not far from my neighborhood, eating, laughing, and getting to know one another. It was painfully obvious that something happened the day we were born that separated us. Even if my parents could only afford to care for one of us, which I seriously doubt, it was no secret that my parents had money, and I was grateful for everything they had done for me. They even put our birth mom through college. So what I couldn't understand is why? Why were we separated? Why were we never told about each other? Did my parents know? Did our birth mom know? Someone had to know, right? I shared my thoughts and questions with my twin McKenzie, and that's when she began to tell me about her research at the hospital and meeting Nurse Brown, who was just an intern that night we were born. She shared with me the hidden truth behind our separation. Shortly after our birth, McKenzie took ill. So ill that she turned blue and coded twice and was put on a ventilator in the NICU. The doctors were certain she would not make it through the night. So it was clear my parents knew I had a twin from the beginning, which they thought had died, but for some reason kept her existence from me altogether. McKenzie shared with me more of what Nurse Brown had told her. Nurse Brown stated that our separation weighed heavily on her all these years. Our separation was not only due to a series of tragic misunderstandings and miscommunications, but it was due to greed and deception. Our biological mother, Jackie, who was a 16-year-old foster child herself with no health insurance, was not treated with the best care at St. John's County Hospital and was led to believe that her sickly twin had tragically passed away the same night we were born. The adopted parents, who had eagerly anticipated the arrival of both twins, were also told of the mortifying news, leading them to proceed with the adoption of only one twin baby girl. Unbeknownst to both parties, the sickly twin miraculously survived and was placed in a different part of the hospital for further care. A clerical error led to the mistaken belief that the infant had not survived, but what further perpetuated the misunderstanding that severed the twins' shared destiny, forever altering the course of their life together, was that of a more sinister motive at play. There was a resident on call the night we were born who knowingly signed off on the death certificate of baby Michaela, later known as McKenzie. Shortly after, this same resident went on to later foster a Jane Doe baby that was said to be left behind by a mother who didn't want to take care of her. Only the intern, Shirley Brown, knew the truth. The intern, who was working under the leadership of the strict no-games resident who looked for any reason to have an intern fired. Nurse Brown tried to go to the chief medical director until she found out that he was dating this resident. Nurse Brown apologized to McKenzie and said she wished that she was stronger, older, wiser on the day they were born, and had the courage to speak up, and said that she has lived with this guilt every day for 18 years. That night, as I returned home, I wanted to go straight to my parents about McKenzie, but we thought it would be best to tell everyone together. I wanted to tell them all the things we learned about our separation. I needed answers too. I wanted to ask them why they never told me that I was a twin. I gave my parents the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to believe perhaps they figured the loss of a sibling was so awful, but the loss of a twin must be even more heartbreaking at such a young age, and maybe they could never find the right time to explain it to me. They just wanted to protect me from that pain. That had to be it, right? I wanted to share the emptiness and loneliness I felt all these years despite having an amazing upbringing with friends and family. I wanted them to know that I was truly grateful for them, but I couldn't help feel so guilty of the life I lived when my twin sister's life was so different from my own. I thought about how strong McKenzie had to be in order to endure everything she had gone through in her foster home, practically being raised by a woman who kidnapped her and falsified her death. I can't help but think how different her life would have been if we were both adopted that day, how different our life would have been raised as twin sisters. A week had passed since my face-to-face meeting with my twin. Today, we're celebrating my 18th birthday. Our 18th birthday. My parents put together a small party for me, a few close friends and relatives, and of course our birth mom. We're there with her new husband looking more beautiful than ever as she glowed with her swollen belly. I couldn't wait to reveal to my twin we were going to be the big sisters of twin baby boys soon. As the cake came out and everyone gathered around the dining room table, I checked my phone and McKenzie was right outside, waiting by the front door, in an identical outfit to my own. As the happy birthday song came to an end and everybody was waiting for my wish to be made, I looked around at everyone and said, I didn't need to make a wish this year because my wish had already come true. Everyone looked confused as I walked toward the front door. I struggled with how to explain how I felt for so long to my parents, but today I opened my mouth and the words came pouring out. I came clean to my parents about how I was always feeling that there was a void deep in my heart. And although I knew I was blessed with so many wonderful people in my life, God finally answered my prayers and reunited me with the one person who could fill that void. The shock on my parents' faces when I opened the door and revealed my identical twin sister was indescribable. When they saw us standing there, side by side, they couldn't believe their eyes. Neither could our biological mother, Jackie, who began crying almost immediately. It was a moment of reckoning, a moment of truth, separated at birth, now together as 18-year-old young women. The realization hit my family like a ton of bricks. Diary. The missing piece of my life had come with a heavy price. The guilt on my parents' face. They embraced McKenzie as tears flowed and sorrowful pleas of I'm sorry echoed around the room. "We should have questioned it," said our birth mother. "We should have fought harder," said my mother. Difficult decisions had to be made, but they were made too prematurely given the information we were given, said my dad. It was a heartbreaking realization that mistakes were made, that the hospital and staff really dropped the ball and needed to pay for their wrongs, if only to make sure this thing didn't happen to other families. The shock and guilt turned to anger and devastation after hearing the news that Nurse Brown told McKenzie about what really happened that night at the hospital. My parents and our birth mom, Jackie, were so angry that they refused to allow McKenzie to go back under the same roof as her foster mom. She stayed with me in my room that night, and we stayed up all night, laughing, talking, and getting to know each other better. It was amazing. For the first time in my life, I felt whole, connected, and seen. I wouldn't trade this feeling, or my twin, for anything in the world. Yours faithfully, Madison.